Hi, welcome to the Kind Self-Healing Project. I'm Amy Eden. In today's video, which is part 3 of Catching Your Thoughts, that's on page 25 of the Kind Self-Healing book, we're going to catch our thoughts. We're going to take the free writing we did in video 2, where we grabbed one of our thoughts and really wrote more about where that's coming from and what it's all about and ask questions of it. Are we trying to be perfect? What's wrong with having that thought? All of that. And we're going to ask more questions of it. We're going to look at things like the word choice, and we're going to challenge ourselves to see if we really believe that's true. Sometimes we think things that when we stop and ask questions, we don't actually really believe. We think we should, or we've just inherited a way of thinking that we might not align with. So grab a copy of this Kind Self-Healing book, paper, pen, journal, whatever works for you, and let's jump in and do this part 3 of the activity. So now you've done your exploratory writing on your thought that you picked. So here's what you do next when you're trying to analyze it. I'm going to show you what I have here. So you can see here and over here, I have just right. And then I have perfectionism circled as well. And then I also have fall apart. So this isn't stuff I'm thinking about while I'm writing, but because I was just free writing about what's going on with this issue with needing time to myself. But what you want to do with this next step is look over what you wrote, see if you see common terms that strike you, and also look for phrases that don't exactly sound like you. Maybe they sound like a parent or an aunt or an uncle. So for me, when I see just right showing up here and falling apart and perfectionism, that gets me thinking about the concept that for me, needing time to myself before getting together with other people has to do with things being just right or perfect. And in terms of falling apart, I think there's some worry there that if things aren't all together, they will fall apart, which is black and white thinking. So I also have here, is it normal? I found that also. What's a normal amount of time that one needs to themselves? So then all of a sudden, as I'm writing this, and this is a real thing, I printed it in the book, but it's real from a journal that I wrote, where all of a sudden a memory popped into my mind. And I connected something, and these things will just float into your mind. If you do the writing and do the work, don't worry, but the best thing is to not worry about it. And then in will float these little just unbelievable insights that you're not expecting. So for me, mine was remembering what it felt like to be sitting idle, not doing anything at home when I was in, grade school, middle school. And that when I was caught sitting idly, doing nothing, I could be reading a magazine, I could be reading a book, or just thinking, or watching TV, I'd be put to work. So it's like, oh, come help me, or you're not doing anything, come do this with me. And over time, I got the message that being still and being idle was not okay, and that it's better to be doing a task. And that can be problematic, Here I am, not realizing, it took me a while to connect why I was so tired and thinking I need all this time to myself and to rest. Well, I have little time for rest and I have little time to myself. That's what I found out through doing this investigation. So it really helped me turn that around. And then when I got to the end, after that insight, I started to say, oh, my days are really full. And I have to admit, there's really no time to myself in there. So of course I'm craving it. I bet even 30 minutes a day would really turn things around. And so by the end I had reframed this into yeah, I do a lot and I'm used to being busy. So I probably need a little bit of time to myself, and I'm no longer worried about ending up alone, right? I just want to close with a little story because, you know, you're going to find out so much about yourself doing this work. And the beauty of this activity in particular, where you choose a thought and just free write and ask yourself questions and decide to give yourself the time to do that, is it's surprising what you'll discover. You won't end up where you thought you would. So I was working with a woman who came to me during it was a coaching session, and she said, "Oh, I got to ask you something." She had these Christmas cards, like thank you cards, in a stack. She pulled out of her purse, and she's like, "Is it too much for me to expect friends of mine and my boyfriends to address cards to both of us?" She had gotten these thank you cards and holiday cards, like holiday greetings and Happy New Year. And there were a couple that hadn't been only addressed to her boyfriend. She lives with him. They've lived together for a really long time, and like 10 years. And she's like, you know, it seems like rude. It seems very rude that someone, after how long we've been together and how valid our relationship is, and they're friends of him. I've had friends of my boyfriends. She said she'd had dinner with them. She had met these people. She's like, so I just don't understand why they insist on sending holiday cards addressed only to him. Why not to me as well? And so the question she was asking was, is that not rude? You know? And really, when someone asks a rhetorical question like that, what they're saying is, I think this is mighty rude. I think it's mighty rude that these people are doing this. And so we talked about it, and I said, well, you know, do you think it's rude? And she's like, I absolutely do think it's rude. So there was the truth. So we started to peel back the layers, and I said, well, what does that say about you? That, again, there's that question, what does it say about you? What does it say about you that these cards are coming and the lion's share, 80% of them, are addressed to both of you, but these couple aren't? She's like, well, they're friends he had from his first marriage. It's like, okay, so they have a relationship with your boyfriend that predates you. So, but what does that say about you that they're not including you on the address of the card? And we went around and around, and what eventually came up was that she said, what it says about me is that I'm not for real. I'm not really his girlfriend. I'm not really a serious part of his life. And I'm like, well, okay, that's what your name being missing from the address on the card means about you. And she's like, yeah, it means they don't consider us a real deal. I said, well, what do you think? And she's like, I think we are more of a real deal than anything else. You know, we may as well be married. And then she stopped, and her eyes filled with tears. And she said, you know, that's actually what I really want. Is, you know, he and I decided we didn't want to marry, but wow, I guess us not being married, I'm a little insecure about. So when I get cards, it's because I get these cards that don't have my name on them. If we were married, I wouldn't feel badly because I'd know we're solid. And that's what we started to talk about. So it was no longer about, isn't it rude that people don't put their name on the card? You know, it went from there to, wow, I actually think I've changed my mind, and I think I want to marry my boyfriend, even though we've already had a couple of marriages and we thought we didn't ever want to marry again. We're in our 60s. So again, my point in sharing this story is, don't judge the thought you're starting with. It could be like, what's wrong with that person? Or why is everyone so wrapped up in their problems? It doesn't matter what thought you catch and put down on paper and start with, because what it's about is where that leads. Just ask questions of that thought. Keep going, and you will really discover something about what lies beneath that for you. And as your truth emerges around that, and what you really want emerges, you'll feel it. That brings us to the end of our 3 videos on catching our thoughts. And I hope that what you come away with from having done this is greater compassion for yourself, and also a feeling of great ability to be the one who heals yourself, to be the one who takes a thought that you think and unravels it That's you. You can heal yourself by your own hand. And anytime you want to do this kind of contemplation and take a look at what you're thinking and peel back the layers, you can. You are the best healer of yourself. So I hope you enjoyed these activities. Please be kind to yourself, and thank you for watching.